We know they're out there, and we know we need to find them. We target them for different reasons, but when the line tightens, we all feel the same. We feel alive. The water moves around us, and the world feels far away. We are here. We are fishing. It is a search, not just for fish, but for all things most important. For family and friends, for tradition and tranquility, for conservation and competition. All of us find what we are looking for. Yet we continue searching. We cast, and as the lure soars, our hopes soar with it. This will be the one. They tell us insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. But we are not insane. The fish are still out there, and we are fishermen. We have been since we were young, and will be until we can do no more. And then, when the ice begins to freeze within us, we will make
Well, g'day everyone. This is ABT Lockdown Live Week 2. It's probably about week 3 or 4 of lockdown for us. Well, it's not a full lockdown here in Australia, but we are advised to stay home unless we are doing absolutely essential things. I was talking to my mate Craig Johnson today up on the Sunshine Coast, an old ABT angler. Says this is the first time he hasn't been away for Easter for 47 years. Think about it, 47 years, first week home for Easter is an example of one of the millions of Australians that are doing the right thing to beat this virus. Stay home, reduce risk. Of course, if you have to go fishing, there's a lot of states in Australia where you still can. If you're fishing for food, if you're fishing local, make sure you check out Australian Fishing Trade Association. They've got a Facebook page with a bit of a summary of where you can and can't do things. It's up to us as anglers to treat it as a privilege at the moment, not a right. If you have to go fishing, there are ways you can do it properly. Of course, there is no tournament fishing on for the foreseeable future, and that's what most of you guys out there love doing. ABT, Australian Bass tournaments, Australian BREAM tournaments, Australian BARRA tournaments have loved bringing you all of the events for the last 20 years, and we're not going to let a little lockdown stop us loving tournament fishing. Luckily, we've got heaps of history. We've got AFC episodes that we've released as we talk about them in the show. You'll see them released on this ABT Tournaments YouTube channel. I've also found a lot of this sort of stuff. I've found a lot of history. The old man videoed lots of stuff early on, and here they are. These are the old DVDs that he's got. I'm going to be digitising those during the weeks and uploading those on this ABT channel as well. So make sure you subscribe, hit that little bell. You will be notified every time some of that ABT history comes up. On the channel last night, we went live with the Year 2000 Bass Pro Grand Final video made by Phil Lomas. Phil Lomas, fantastic, brilliant cameraman, great editor. He travelled around with us for a couple of years of ABT, making that BREAM 2000 video, but also making this BREAM 1 and 2, and I'm trying to catch up with Phil at the moment to see if I can get permission to put some excerpts of that up for your pleasure, because there are some real young looking BREAMers in this, let me tell you. We're all looking pretty young. Firstly, you can interact with this show, of course. YouTube has got a chat function, and I see there's people chatting down the side there now. I have got a set of 4 or 5, not a full set, but a fair wad of AFC DVDs for someone who posts on there and tells us where they're from. So tell us where you're from tonight, whether you're in Australia or anywhere else in the rest of the world watching ABT Lockdown Live. We want to know where you're from, and I will send a set of AFC DVDs when this episode's done. We're going to announce the winner at the end of the episodes. I've got plenty of other prizes to give through in this episode as well. So firstly, let us know where you're from in that chat function there. Tonight, we have plenty of people on the show. We've got old AFC angler and host Adam Royter, and he's going to talk about some of his favourite moments of AFC, but the most important thing he's going to do is tell us, he's going to dispel the lie, he's going to myth bust what happened in Series 1, Episode 2. We said he got DQ'd for not wearing a PFD, but the truth, it's a lot different than that. He'll be the first segment tonight. We've got Adam Costa from fishin.com.au, and Adam, he is struggling down in his shop down there, needs all of the orders he can to keep himself and his kids fed during this period. We're going to have a chat to him about that massive bream that he caught in the pre-fish for the Hobie tournament that was ultimately cancelled down there. So he's going to let all of that out of the bag now. We have got the BARRA gun with the BARRA guns, Karim De Riter, coming on, and Karim's got a couple of really interesting lures to show us. Going to talk about some of his favourite ABT and AFC moments, and that man is an absolute gentle giant. Love to have him on the show from his North Queensland secret bunker. We have got Tristan Taylor, the 2019 emphatic BREAM Angler of the Year, and we're going to go through the lures that he used to win AOY, and dead set, I could fit them in Adam Royter's Hog's Breath Cafe hat here. There is not a big selection of lures that he used to win Angler of the Year. He used skill to do that, and he'll take you through all of his baits that he used to do that. And of course, finally, we've got Byron Hill. He came to Tassie with us. He's running through his experience as a non-boater, and we're going to premiere his video on his channel after this show happens tonight. So we've got plenty to do tonight. I want to do a real shout out to Nicole Smith, who's sitting in the ABT Victoria Point bunker and also in southeast Queensland. She did a lot of the background work for this. She records all of the interviews on Skype, puts them all together for us, and she's the one who looks after the ABT sponsors. So if you're on there and commenting, give Nicole a shout out there as well. No prizes for that. Just tell her she's doing a good job, because she's doing a great job there. Trying to keep it all together, keep all the ABT sponsors happy while in this time of lockdown. How it works, I'm live now, but we have 4 or 5 segments that I've talked about already that we are going to run through tonight. In between, we'll come back and have a chat. We're going to run through some of the competitions. Make sure you share this with all your mates. If you're not a subscriber, smash that bell so you get notified every time we go live. You won't miss out any of that archival stuff we have going through the week as well. Next week, we're going to have a little bit more interaction. I'm going to try and do a bit of a Q&A session with some of the lures and techniques for bream, and then from there, we're going to try and ramp up the amount of live content. ABT has got a host of absolute experts in doing what they do. So we're going to try and get those guys onto the show, just making sure that our ambition's not exceeding our technological ability to get that sort of stuff going. A bit of a look around the office. Here we go. This is the ABT Lockdown Live bunker. It's got my work screens, it's got cables everywhere, it's got prizes everywhere. It all gets together on this notepad here. That's the technology we use to pull it together. But this is a room in my house with an NBN connection and a bit of drive to do something. So we love interacting with you guys no matter where you are. Let's get back to the main camera here, and let's have a look at an ad from the Costa BREAM Series main sponsor. And after that, we're going to come back to you with Adam Royter's segment. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope that you are surprised.
If you're Will Flack, you don't just go fishing. You get up at 4 a.m., get your motor going. Get this motor going. Sun's up, shades up. Pick it, tie it, stretch it, haul it. Dang it. Let's try this school. Nope. Best restaurant ever. You were gonna be back by 3. 3-ish? 6-ish. Bonefish, 2 o'clock. Strip, strip, strip. Hit it, kiss it. That's it. Okay, your turn. And now it's a fishing trip. For those who need water to breathe. Costa sunglasses.
Now, just before we go to Adam Royter's segment, I see he is actually online here and live. He is ready to answer all of your questions. So during the segment, you got something to talk to Mad Dog about. He is going to be there commenting, answering, putting to bed any rumours of things that happened on AFC, because that's what's going to happen here now in this segment. Let's go and have a talk to Adam Royter. If you've seen any AFC episodes, especially the old ones, you'll know this man I've got with me. It's Adam Royter, direct from his serious lockdown in New Zealand. Reutz, we've seen your clips from your hotel lockdown where you went half mad. And we're going to, after this little segment, we're going to cut to that to show them. But where are you now, mate? That does not look like a hotel room.
No, it's not. It's my wonderful home, and I am back under very strict quarantine procedures, so I'm not allowed to leave. I've got I've got my designated area that I'm allowed to circulate in, and which is pretty much just this house. So I'm still tied down, but I'm much more comfortable. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and look, you've got a creek right near your house, but you're not even allowed to fish in it, are you?
No, look, I could. It's only 300 metres down the road. I generally walk there and do some sight fishing in the mornings, but I can't even do that simply because I signed the government piece of paper that said I have to stay where I'm put, and if I don't, they can just fine me till I'm blue in the face. And it's not as if I can sneak down, because they are constantly coming by, knocking on my door, doing drive-bys, ringing me up on the phone, making sure I tell them where I'm at. So there's plenty of ways that they can work out exactly where I'm situated. So I think I'm just going to stay here. It's better for everyone outside, and it's probably going to be better for my pocket as well.
Well, you definitely kept everyone entertained during your hotel stint. Let's have a look at my favourite clip from that arena. So there you go. I call him Boxman. What was his real name, that character?
Boxhead.
Boxhead. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Boxhead had it done. And Boxhead had a good time on the road. His candle burnt bright, but not for long, because I'm sure he's in the bin now.
Yes,
Mate,
he is.
Mate, what we all know you for and love you for is your time on AFC, of course, and you spent time on the road both as an angler and as a commentator, and you've experienced that whole gamut, all the way from BREAM 1 and 2 through to being a commentator, in what was an over $500,000 production. They were some fun times on the road, weren't they?
Mate, AFC was one of the best production. I've been involved in some pretty high-grade stuff in the past, both as extras and just involved in behind the scenes with some pretty big productions. But that being that entrenched and close to everybody involved, like we were living in each other's suitcases essentially. It was a tight knit group of guys and girls, and there were some serious pro producers there. The cameraman was super high grade, and we were bumping into them. We're just basic punter anglers, we're nothing incredibly special, and we got to rub shoulders with some really super knowledgeable, really keen people in the industry of making fantastic TV and film. And to say that the production was okay is rubbish. The production was sensational. One of the best produced fishing TV programs of its time ever. And it still stands strong today, that if you watch one of those productions today and you put it up against any 2020 or 2019 show, it'll probably eat them for breakfast. So yeah, super high spec in the production department, and we, as anglers and as commentators, invested ourselves into that because everything was glossy, everything was shiny, everything was on the money. There was not one major hiccup apart from the bad stuff that I was doing, we can get to.
We'll get to that.
And maybe when Benny Godfrey filled his boat full of diesel, maybe that was another one. But aside from those elements, it was just so slick and so well produced. I mean, you've got to be happy with that, as you were a driving force behind that. And you've got to look back now. And we spoke earlier before we started this, and you said it's matured like a good wine, and it has, simply because it's held that value, it's held that quality, and it's just brilliant. And I love watching them again, even now,
Yeah, and I think anyone who is involved in AFC, and there's a great cohort of anglers now that have been involved, from the early guys like yourself and Starlow and Miller and Chris Slickwright and guys like that, all the way through to the guys that are still involved in the version that it is today, always wear it as a bit of a badge of honour that they've been on AFC. Of course, for the first 10 years you had to qualify. Well, actually, the first year we sort of handpicked some people, but, for most of the filming through, you had to win a grand final or be an Angler of the Year or really qualify to get in there, and I think that really lifted the bar for the status of doing it. Now, of course, rewinding before AFC, and we're going to feature this on the show in a little while, we had the old BREAM 1 and 2 videos, and old filthy Phil Lomas, mate, he spent a whole year on the AB tour making those. He did such a great job for a one-man production show. We're going to run some segments of those down the track, but a shout out to Phil because he did such a good job doing that, and he put bream fishing on the map. The first thing I want to talk to you about tonight is when we did our live show the other night, someone said their favourite AFC moment was when you got disqualified in Series 1, Episode 2 for not wearing your PFD. Now that's like 20 years ago, that's Siri having a talk. Now that we're 20 years on, I'm going to let you tell everyone what exactly happened during that time.
I'm already crying. And it's not because I just rubbed chili in my eye. I'm tearing up. I'm welling up at the ability of myself to tell a story correctly, because it was quite a while ago. But I'm pretty sure I need to separate the hemispheres of my brain. One is full of a massive lie that we told.
Yep.
The general public, and the other is the actual truth. So this is the true story. I was belting up the Nerang River, pretty much flat stick, which was cool because it was in a section that you could do that. And they were only 75 horse Mercs on a like a 480 Hornet.
445. They were small Quintrax, yeah.
Even smaller. So yeah, they went all right for what they were. They were side console driven. And the cameraman was getting some sort of traveling shots. You know, he needed some of that pacey type action shot, and he was getting some from behind me, getting some from the side of me, and then he thought, oh, hey, here's a good trick. Let me just get right in front of you and get some of that sort of, you know, that water coming back and you're, you know, close up on your head. And so he sat basically right in front of me, and I was sort of keeping my eyes on both sides of the river. I was smack in the middle at the time, which is probably not the best place to be, but I thought it was going to be the safest because, you know, I would see people coming out of the canal and I could back it off. And he's standing in front of me, actually kneeling down in front of me, pretty much blocking out my entire vision forward of a small gap of maybe half a metre block in front of myself. And at the time, because you were sitting behind the console and you had the windscreen and stuff there, I'm sort of looking forward, and all of a sudden from behind this cameraman, this pontoon boat just materialised out of nowhere. So the cameraman had been sitting in front of my field of vision up the river as this pontoon boat came around a really sharp corner and started to come straight at me. So I didn't see it coming at all. It was just, as far as I was concerned, there was nothing going to hit me. There was nothing coming at us. I was keeping my eyes peeled as we were going up the river, and this pontoon boat, which was like a 35 or 38 footer, it was a big double pontoon with a roof and the barbie and the whole box and dice. It just like, whoa, just appeared from behind, and as quick as a flash, all of a sudden, I'm aerialized. I'm like flying through the air. I could see the cameraman's like, slow-mo, and his camera's flying off into the distance. And we both were both ejected. Because the Hornets have that sort of that Millennium hull scenario where the keel edges are sort of a bit sort of flowy. It pinned the nose of the pontoon and just ejected. So we basically went out one side of the boat, and the boat speared off perfectly and ran into the mangroves and stopped, which was great. But we were both in the water in the middle of the river. So I sort of swam to the pontoon boat and grabbed onto the pontoon edge of it and looked up, and old mate's looking down at me, and he just looked down and he just went, "Not a effing chance, mate. You're over there on that bank." And that was where I was. So I sat on the bank until the paramedics turned up, and there were helicopters and news crews and police, and it was a whole shebang after that. But yeah, the camera ended up at the bottom of the Nerang River. Cameraman pretty much never came on board my boat again, I don't think. I think we swapped him out for for some other job. I got a new cameraman because he was scared of the water to start with. Like he was a pom and scared of the water from the get-go. So that was just not the ideal scenario for him. But went to court the next day, got fast-tracked through the court system, got fined, and then because we needed to move. Like the next day we were travelling to the next destination. So your old man actually, Pete, took me to court that morning early and through that system out the other side, and then we were all on the road again, and it was, wow. It was a buzz.
And for
not I like doing it. It's not what I had planned, trust me, but it happened.
Well, mate, and it's all good that we all swam away, but for the entire rest of that season of AFC, we had to film the boat from the right-hand side or the left-hand side, whatever side didn't get stoved in, because it was still floatable. Like it didn't, like testament to Quinnies, it didn't sink.
No,
it was still seaworthy.
Yeah, there was no hole. It was a really big ding. Yeah, it was all shot from. So you'll probably notice if you watch that first season again, you watch that show, or actually for the rest of the whole season, the same boat was used. If you watch that, you'll notice that it's all shot from one side.
Zoolander style, mate. Take us through your favourite.
Hey, thanks for that. Thanks for dragging me through that.
Well, I think after 20 years, we can finally vent it and release it, and we can move on with our lives.
I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulder. I feel much better. Yeah. Yeah.
What was about your favourite fishing moment of AFC? Because you had your highs and lows when it came to fishing. Like some of the lows I remember involved you sitting on a pole at Foster with a flat battery, just thinking, why me? But you had some real highs as well, and one of them you were telling me about was on the Hawkesbury. Tell me about this moment.
Yeah, Hawkesbury was good. I'd never fished there before, so we had a brief pre-fish, and I just looked for big structure. I didn't really understand oysters because I'm from Victoria and we don't generally do that. So oyster racks are always a bit of an anomaly for me. So I stayed clear from those for the most part, but I just looked for big pieces of structure in the water that I knew would create not only a habitat but also a good feed station throughout the tidal influences of a main river system like that. So I just looked at the bridge pylons, especially those big old the train ones, which I don't think are used anymore. They're just these giant bluestone columns, and you just look at those and you think, man, they've been here for so long. The growth and the structure and the fish generations know that that's always been there for them. So I looked at those and I went, yeah, well, this is where I'm going to start, and I started, and I got a couple of good ones straight off the bat. So I was happy to kick off my Hawkesbury session right there, and onward from there. And I'm not sure where I placed, but yeah, it was good fun getting a couple of nice fish in the boat to. And then
rewind us to I think it was all on Berkeley bass minnows, the old pearl watermelon bass minnows. Was that it?
No, actually, it might have been like a bulky hog or something.
It's a real old school thing, mate. That was old time, so it was old school. But the old Berkeley plastics, mate, used to just smash it.
Oh, look, and if it wasn't something crazy like that, like I think I would have used the bulky hog as like, I don't know how this is going to work or how it's going to fish, but I'm going to use it anyway, because at that time, if it wasn't a 2-inch single tail grub, it was a 3-inch bass minnow or a 3-inch power minnow. Like that, those two soft baits were what pretty much 90% of BREAM anglers used, and I'm not sure if anyone throws 3-inch power minnows anymore, do they?
Sure, some people do. It's real old school, mate. You've got to be an old veteran with a bit of soul with your hair to do it nowadays, I think.
I can't believe that, eh? It's like nah, the BREAM don't eat those anymore. Oh, really, don't they?
Take us now, moving through your AFC journey, you then became a host, and between you and Starlo, I think you were the greatest team of hosts that we had. And we've had guys on there. We've had Daryl Beattie come in over the years. We've had a lot of hosts in there, but you and Starlo had that chemistry. You worked so well together. How's your memories of hosting back in the time? They were a decent road trip, weren't they?
Mate, it was good fun. Because we weren't angling, we didn't have we had a focus, which was what we were supposed to talk about and how we were going to do it. But we weren't sort of focused on fishing. So it was a totally different gameplay. Like we essentially kept ourselves occupied by, doing stupid things and having a lot of fun. So it was a little bit more comical in the things that we'd get up to. But when it came time to work and we had to be on the water, it was interesting watching anglers, and it was a completely different feel for me and a completely different scenario to what I'd been used to, because I was at the other end and now I'm at this end looking back, and having to watch anglers fish multiple different styles of angling throughout the entire series was just such an eye-opener, and you can learn so much and that's where I first understood why people watch fishing tournament shows. It's not because you want to see them hold up the big ones. You want to see their style. You want to see what they're doing. You want to know the intricacies and the nuances of what they're doing. And it's right down to boat position and, which angle are they going to shoot that cast at that structure. It's not he just gets it in there. It's which angle and how and why and what timing and how far is the boat away from it. It's all these little tiny bits and pieces that if you look at it in that scenario, actually makes sense, and you can learn so much, and that goes into your brain and stays there for the next time that you want to go out and have a fish. You know, it's important viewing. I think it's incredibly important for especially new anglers to watch a lot of this sort of stuff to get an idea and a handle on how it's done. It should increase your fishing skill tremendously.
Yeah, I think so. And just like newbies to bream and bass fishing, and even experienced anglers can learn from AFC, I love watching overseas tournament shows as well, because it's the same thing. It just shows that a bait which has been designed for one way of fishing can be used in so many different ways over the world. Hold on for one second. I have something here that I'm going to show you. Just hold on for 1 second. I'm going through the archives the other day. I found one of these things. Look at that. That's the old Hog's Breath Cafe cap, mate. I'm actually going to give this away tonight. We're going to give this away to a lucky person that gets onto the chat now. Tell me how much you want to win the Adam Royter hat. This would have been worn by Adam Royter. You know, looks like it probably fits your head perfectly because there's no hair to get between you and the hat. But I hear you have something else.
I can trump you on that. I got the shirt.
There you go, the old Team Hog's Breath Cafe.
Yeah, the old original shirt with the old squealer right on the pocket there. That's classic. And bright yellow, like you could see me from about 300 miles away.
Yeah, no, they were great times, mate. Look, I really appreciate you joining us on the show tonight. Big shout out to everyone in New Zealand who's doing it tough like the Aussie guys. You know, we're getting locked down at the moment. We're doing the right thing to stop the progress of this virus, mate. So enjoy your next 11 days in self-isolation, and by then that creek will be looking pretty good out the side of your property.
Wait, mate, I'm so keen to throw a line. And thanks for the experience and the opportunity to rehash some of those memories. It's been amazing. And I hope you get all of them ticked off, all the old crew back in the mix. That'd be great. And I can't wait to rewatch all of this as well.
Good stuff, mate. Well, there you go. The real truth, direct from Adam Royter's mouth.
Yes, as soon as that landed, it was on. Well, there you go, the segment with Adam Royter. We finally let the cat out of the bag after nearly 20 years of what actually happened. A bit of a boating accident. Luckily, everyone swam away from it all right, but it is true. I have got Adam's hat here. There it is, the Hog's Breath Cafe cap. I'm going to send that to someone. If you, like we said in there, if you wanted to get on the chat here, tell us how much you want it. Even if you can't think something up, just say, give me the hat, give me the hat. And we will draw that by the end of the show tonight, and I will send that out to somebody, the Hog's Breath Cafe hat. And thanks very much, Adam, for coming along. I know he's sitting on the chat there now. Any other questions for Royts? He is there, and mate, thank you very much for coming and joining us there tonight. Another thing that we really want is we want your feedback about what segments you want. Who do you want on the show? What sort of segments do you want? You can put it either in the chat here, or you can send it to us on our Facebook page and giving us some personal feedback later on. That's fine. We all take it as constructive criticism because we want ABT Lockdown Live to be the show for fishing that you watch while you're maybe unable to get out on the water. Now, also, those two AFC episodes that we were talking about, Series 1 Hawkesbury, with Adam catching that cracker of a fish off the Hawkesbury Railway Bridge there, and the Barrumba episode where Adam's ripping that hook out of Harry's leg, they are both going to be live on the ABT YouTube page as soon as this episode's finished. So you've got plenty more viewing for you there, and we're going to be releasing more AFC shows as this lockdown goes on. Let's go and have another ad from our sponsor, and when we come back, we are going to talk to a champion off the water who is Adam Costa. Let's get along and have a look at this dial ad.
welcome back to ABT Lockdown Live. A man who, if you spend any time on the internet, you've probably seen some of his content, is Adam Costa from fishin.com.au. He specialises in lure fishing, but in particular bream fishing. He's on the south side of Sydney. Adam, welcome to the show, and good to see you, mate, surviving the lockdown at the moment.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Yeah, just surviving it.
Yeah, look, anyone who's been to your store knows that you have got the most density of bream lures per square metre than anywhere in the world, I reckon, because you've got the smallest store with the most stuff in it. It's a pretty cool place to be if you visit. If you're in town, drop in because you will find some gems in there.
Yeah, I really like it. We've met a lot of really nice blokes. It's a great bunch of people that do the kayaks and the boating series. I'm interested in it, so it's a really good job to have at the moment.
Yeah, and look, you are also famous for shipping stuff straight away. So if I ring you now, it goes in the post that day, I get it the next day, your service is second to none. You don't have to respond to that. I'm just telling people out there that you do good. You don't go home until everything's shipped, do you? You don't leave anything on the shelf.
No, that's how I'd want my deliveries, and I just try and treat people how I'd like to be treated.
Now, let's cut to the chase, mate. I saw a photo on social media a week or two ago of you with the biggest bloody yellowfin bream that I have seen come out of New South Wales in recent times. There's a cutaway of it up on the screen now. Tell us about that fish and tell us the context and when you caught it. Like, you didn't bang on about this thing straight away. You're a bloody strategist, aren't you?
Well, I was pre-fishing for the Georges River round in the Hobie series, and I usually only do one comp per year in the Hobies, so I probably throw all my eggs into that basket. So I probably pre-fished it about a good 6 times, and there was one area that I wanted to fish, and I left that till last. So fishing boat holes, mooring blocks actually, with a VX35 Eco Gear blade, and got clunked by a really, really good fish. And I'm thinking kingfish. And the bloke that I was fishing with, Jared, I'm going, Jared, I've hooked a king. And it actually went on the wrong side of the boat. So I had to open the bay alarm, paddle around the boat, put the bay alarm back closed, and then see if I still had weight. And I did. And it was still running like a kingfish, the second run. And I'm like, yeah, still a kingy. And then the third run was a bit shorter. And then I saw it pretty much on the surface. Then I called it for a snapper because I don't know how it looked a bit red. And then about 10 metres away, I thought it was a big bream. And, it was my PB by about 2.5 centimetres. So, mate, I was absolutely stoked.
Exactly how long was it to the fork? It was about 43?
Yeah, I think it's 44.5 fork.
44.5 fork. And you just got to go to the New South Wales DPI, weigh a fish with a ruler sight. Mate, that is a definite 2 kilo fish. Mate, is that your first 2 keggy you've ever caught, obviously? Yeah,
I think 42 is my previous best. I was sitting on that for probably about 12 years, I think. I equalled it pre-fishing for this same comp, and then I beat it pre-fishing for this comp. So, I was really keen to do the comp, and I was a bit devoed, but what do you do?
I tell you what, it would have been an interesting live well with a couple of fish over 40 centimetres in it, mate. And I know you've got the lure, the type of lure you were throwing. Hold it up and show us. Explain exactly the lure and the colour you were throwing.
So it's pretty famous, this lure. It's the Eco Gear VX35 in 439.
Just give it a bit of a shake, mate, because I can't see the colour, just so I can see the side of it. I just want to see just have it hang. There you go. So it's the old, okay, that's the one, yeah. That's it's the crackleback and orange belly sand colour, isn't it?
Yes, it's the one that Grant Kime did. Didn't he win the grand final in the VX40, though, in St George's Basin?
So the Eco Gears have caught so many big fish like that over the years, and we all know there's 10 or 12 sorts of blades on the market at the moment. Why is it that those Eco Gear blades just keep on catching fish time after time? What do you think it is?
I think it's how they drop, to be honest. I don't think there's a blade out there, which I don't really fish blades that often, but I don't think there's a blade out there that flutters as well on the drop as an Eco Gear blade. There's a lot on the market, but I just don't think they're as good on the drop. They might vibrate quicker. They might have a tighter action. They might have a wider action, but I don't think they drop as well.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because Eco Gear sort of invented the genre for BREAM over here. Remember, they had the old VX blades, were the ones with the two little trebles. They were the first one that came out, and they followed them up a few years later with the ZX blades, the teardrop with the assist hooks on the end. And Takeyoshi Orimoto, who's the guy that developed those, he actually brought them over and tried them over here. And we all told him all the time he's got rocks in his head. They're not going to eat those here. But you know, they've become such a staple in anglers' boxes. We've got guys that are just dead set blade specialists nowadays. So, mate, it's great to see that the company that invested in the R&D at the start is still catching giants day after day. Now, a little bit more about your shop. Like, I know a lot of people in Australia now, we're watching this, we're sort of, some of us can go fishing. It's sort of a bit marginal whether, you know, it's essential fishing or not. But I tell you what, this is a really good time to go through your gear, sort it out, fill up any gaps that you've got in your gear. Are you still open for business?
Yeah, we're still open for business. We're not really letting anyone in store, mainly because I don't want to clean every lure that someone touches, which is you know, probably. I'd rather just do a pickup service and online service. We're definitely still open. We're going to remain open for as long as we can, and you know, we're just going to see how it goes.
Well, look, mate, you have been a great advertiser in Fishing Monthly magazines, a great sponsor of ABT, and a great angler over the years. I know you qualified for the grand final last year and you tried to move heaven and earth to get there. Didn't make it there in the end, but, mate, we really thank you for your support of ABT over the years. And, guys watching, if you want to make Adam's job a little bit easier and keep him going through to when we can go fishing again, get on there and make an order. Mate, you've got free shipping over a certain amount. What's your deals at the moment?
Okay, so at the moment we've got free shipping, $125 free express shipping, and at the moment we're doing free Eco Gear lure if you spend over $125 and have a Eco Gear lure in your order. Okay,
so if I spend over $125 and I've got an Eco Gear lure in there, I get free shipping and I get another Eco Gear for free. That's a decent deal.
Right. Yep.
Awesome, mate.
And we'll be doing promos throughout this lockdown period.
Okay, so and the socials we can get in touch with you on. You do go on Instagram and Facebook, and you have a YouTube channel as well. Give us a shout out for those channels.
Okay, so they're all fishing.com.au, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all under fishing.com.au.
Yeah, there you go. Great sense. I know you've got time on your hands. If you want to watch Adam catch fish and swear when he loses them, that's the YouTube channel to go on, mate. Thanks for joining us today, and, mate, we really wish you the best through this time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it.
What them sons of fishes up to now?
Fellas, I give you the force trolling motor. It is the most powerful, the most efficient on the water.
Yep. Most powerful. We're really in trouble now.
And it's quiet, too. You can't swim here.
What a dumb bass.
Well, there you go. Isn't he a bloody legend and a champion off the water, Adam Costa? I know I've ordered from his shop, and all of you guys out there have done it. You know that stuff gets to you as very fast as the express post service can get to you, mainly next day if it's if it's in a major city. We've got a Costa prize pack to give away, and we're going to give it away to the person that writes in these comments what their ultimate purchase is from fishing.com.au. Now, you can go on the website and have a look if you like, but don't stop watching this show to do it. What is the ultimate piece of tackle? Might be a Daiwa rod and reel, might be a lure, might be some line, might be something that's going to catch you more fish on the water. Put it in the comments there, and Nicole will judge at the end what the best one is, and I have got for that. Let's have a look at what we got. Got ourselves a really cool Costa cap. And that's true. His name's Adam Costa. He sells Costas. This is the Costa cap. We got some microfiber cleaning cloths. We got a few of the specialty Adam Costa stubby coolers there. We've got some sunglass holders. We've got a whole heap of Costa stickers, and we've got some Fishing Monthly stubby holders. So that is in tonight's Costa prize pack. We thought Costa BREAM series, Adam Costa, Costa prize pack. What can possibly go wrong? What else have we got here? We're going to be coming back after the ad with an absolute legend on the BARRA tour, Karim De Riter. Before that, we are going to have a look at an ad from, let's face it, it's going to have to be from Costa, isn't it? Check this out.
If you're Mark Healy, you don't just live on the water, you live for it. You get up, get your shades, grab a spear, grab a boat, grab a friend. Okay, take a breath. Hold it. Hold it. Here, hold this. Go, go. Whoa. All right, now find something to jump on. It's probably too high. It wasn't too high. Time to get going? Time to keep going. How's that feel? And now this is living. For those who need water to breathe, Costa sunglasses.
Okay, on ABT Lockdown Live, we've had BREAM guys, we've had bass guys, but we haven't had a BARRA guy yet. And I thought if we're going to start with BARRA, let's start with the biggest BARRA guy there is. We've got Karim De Riter here live from, where do you live, mate? Cairns, is it, in North Queensland?
Yeah, I'm about 40 minutes south of Cairns in Fishery Falls, so it's a little sort of just a country pub really, and a few houses up on a bit of acreage, so on the base of the rainforest pretty much. So
I can see it out the window, mate. You've got rainforest in the background there, mate, so great place to ride out the Armageddon.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We don't see too many people up here, so can't get the corona too easy.
No worries, mate. What do you do for a 9 to 5? We all know you as just a BARRA slaying machine, but what's your 9 to 5 job?
Health and safety inspector for the Queensland government. So mostly construction is my sort of forte, but being in a regional area, we do a bit of everything. So farming, we do industrial stuff, but mostly construction-based inspections and that sort of thing.
And I can imagine them picking you to go in there because, you know, the little 5.5-foot guy with who's got the Pirate's Dream chest like this doesn't get much traction, I think, with the builders, although you walk in there and say do it, they'd be just saluting, wouldn't they?
Yeah, most of the time. It's obviously pretty good with them. They're all not too bad, so we don't get too many dramas.
Mate, you're a gentle giant for sure, mate. We spent many years with you on the BARRA tour, and you guys, of course, with your partner Craig Griffiths, are a team really to watch every year when it comes on the BARRA tour. The thing is, if you don't win Team of the Year, someone's had to have a cracker of a year because you're that consistent. Run us through some of your. I know we all know you from the BARRA tour. ABT guys know you because they read about you every year in the BARRA tour. What other tournaments, though, have you hung your hat on? I know it was at the Nationals when you won it for the first time, but what other big tournaments have you won that you've sort of slipped under our radar for?
Yeah, we got asked this question a while back. We don't really keep tabs on what we've won. Probably run through like most of the time we do saltwater comps. The ABT is generally the only freshwater comp we do, so our saltwater BARRA is sort of the main one. So we do Hinchinbrook-based ones. So there's a Hinchinbrook Invitational. We don't do that now. That's because that's about the same time as the Nationals. Yeah. And then there's another one at the end of the year in September. We haven't actually won that one yet, myself and Craig. We've always used to get beaten by Millard and Ethan back in those days. I think we've come runner-up about 3 or 4 times. But yeah, that's probably one on the list that we've got to do. There's the Faust Invitational is another freshwater one we do. The Rocky BARRA Bash, which is at the start of the year. Yep. That we won that one as well last year after the Nationals. And then we've done we won a Bass Sastic years ago as well. That one down in Wonga. Generally, any of the tournament style ones. We don't do the community sort of comps much, but it's just the tournament style ones. We've been and done most of the BARRA stuff. So.
Well, it's gold, mate. I know there's one we've started, and hopefully by the end of this year we'll get to be able to fish it this year. Is that the Venom Rods BARRA Australian Open, mate? That one's got a pretty flash-looking trophy that might need a name on. You might have to have a go at that. Yeah,
it's not bad and good prize money too. So I think it's a bit more appealing for us because we spend a lot of money to do the comps. So those ones with the bigger sort of price tags on sort of can fund your rest of your year, and that's what we use. Any wins we gather through the years, we use that to fund our next year. Yeah. Doing tournaments is an expensive thing to do, but yeah, we love doing it. The competing side of it's what keeps us going, and the camaraderie with everyone else, all the anglers we see, just those times of the year through the year. So
awesome, mate. I've been to the Nationals. I've seen your camping set up. You did said had a full on tent with an air conditioner in it. You don't do it uncomfortably, do you?
No, I think it's a bit humid up there. Cairns is humid, but the territory is next level. So we want to be able to sleep good and rest good and still fish good the next day. And it's a marathon of a comp. So we set up a decent camp and do a decent free fish as well because we're not really that experienced in the river. And it's worked out for us the last couple of years, which is good.
You've done really well up there, mate. You've done Queensland and ABT members proud, mate. Because as soon as an ABT member won the Nationals, we're like, "Yep, there's some of our boys." So don't worry, we're all climbing on the wagon, mate. Don't worry about that at all. Hey, one question I've got for you, and look, the people that are all watching tonight on a Friday night are all, the footy's not on, we've got no sport on anymore, so we want to hear some great stories from guys like you that have probably caught more barra than all the rest of us put together. So tell me through your best ABT moment or your best ABT fish. Like, talk about a fish that you caught and landed, or a fish that you hooked and lost that really sticks in your memory as defining the ABT tour for you, the Barra Tour.
There's probably a fair few. Off the top of my head, there was actually probably when the Faust Point came alive, which was probably 2014, maybe when the dam dropped fairly low. Craig and myself and Wecky and the boys, we sort of found it before the other guys did and established ourselves on that point, and we had some unreal sessions on that in that year. That's probably, there was a session there, I think. We got like 20, 25 fish or something, and they were all meteries, and we were like, you'd get like a 105 to the side of the boat and you wouldn't even bother measuring it because you'd know straight away the length of it. And pretty much we used to say we'd just kick them off the back deck unless they looked about a 110, and then we'd chuck them on the mat to see if we get a couple of settling upgrades. So
I think that was the tournament that took a metre 13 average to win the tournament, which is a fish of a lifetime for a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah,
it was unreal, and I think it fished well for another tournament after that, and like we had another session and it was like 50 fish in the one session, so it was insane that point when it was firing, the weed was perfect level and that sort of thing, and it still maintained itself for like a year or two after when the winds were right, and there was a lot of people fishing it and still produced. So
it's what I've learnt from doing the Barra Tour for many years, and I'll stick my hand up as being one of Australia's worst Barra fishermen, that the wind is such an important thing for the Barra guys. Explain to our Bream and Bass guys how important the wind is, because the Bream and the Bass guys, if it's blowing, it helps the bite, but we don't care what direction it's blowing from. Water temperatures don't make that much difference.
Yeah.
It's important for barra fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much the current generator on a lake that doesn't, if it's not dropping water out, there's no current really, apart from inflow from the rivers or creeks. And generally when we do the comp, it's later in the year, so the only sort of current generation you get is a wind. And that's what pushes the bait in certain areas, and that's what gets the fish in those areas as well. So any subtle change, especially when you've been pre-fishing certain areas, if you get a directional change, it can change the spot instantly pretty much.
Yep.
And that's always been a key to be consistent in those comps, is knowing where to be, and I suppose based on your pre-fish, where to be when those winds shift. So sometimes it does weird stuff, like it'll shift and you'll think it'll go dead, and it'll just go nuts when you can't explain. Like we had one on Faust Point, it went southwesterly, went straight over the top of us, and it went ballistic, and we just couldn't work out why. But those sort of things happen sometimes.
And I think the barra themselves seem much more mobile than we think they are. Like you can find some spots where they're a barra, but a barra moves a lot, especially after dark, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's amazing how quick, and even if when we were running the basic 360 before the Mega came out, you'd have your refresh on your screen going all the time, and you think you could establish where the fish was moving. If you had a slower refresh, you had no idea. It'd just be on the screen 1 second and go on the next. So trying to work at the speed, like a lot of it changed depending on the fish itself, but not everyone was doing the same sort of speed. But it was amazing. Some fish would just roll in, roll out that quickly. You're like, oh yeah. So
that's it. And I suppose again for the Bream and the Bass guys, a barra tournament, a lot of guys will move to a spot, stay in that spot the whole time, and if you pick a good enough spot, the fish will nearly come to you all night. And that's something again that's hard to get a head around, because Bream and Bass guys, we just love moving around and finding fresh fish all the time. I tried that for many years for barra fishing. I'm definitely not good enough to make that happen, but it's a real change of tournament style for these guys, I think. So if anyone gets a chance to come up and have a crack at the Barra Tour, and who knows, this year with the COVID stuff around, maybe the Barra Tour might be the first events we get to this year. It's a great time with good guys. The bite is insane, and learning those techniques is a real, for me, it's really satisfying to finally learn how to do it and to catch some fish at the end of it. It's a new challenge for a lot of fishermen, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an awesome event. And really sort of you learn. I think you learn quickly on the tour if you're doing something wrong, or and you got people next to you that are doing the right stuff. What to do. So it's a good one. Even if you just do it as a learning experience and you want to do social fishing after, you can learn a lot the tour.
Exactly. We've got some footage here that you filmed in an old AFC, or not an old, a newish AFC. We talked about the night fishing and fishing around Fouse Point, but you guys have really developed some great techniques to pinpoint the fish that are sort of locked down during the day. If you find a patch of fish during the day, you've got some pretty cool techniques to do it. And I want you to run us through a couple of the lures that you use for it, and just take us through that vertical technique, because we got some cutaway playing in the background here.
Yep.
A big man just muscling some fish from under the boat. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the daytime fishing is a little bit different on the lakes, and so we sort of found out a little pattern with the vertical stuff where you find sort of schools of fish that were locked in on structure or locked in certain areas. A lot of it was jig and vibes, so we used to use the Madness. Actually, when we first discovered these were what we were catching most of our fish on, and it was amazing because it was a subtle difference to all the other vibes in the market. They, for some reason, outfished in 5 to 1, and we only had like 5 of these things when we first got them. And I remember I had one that exact colour. I had to swim for it when I lost it one day in pre-fish because I wanted it for the comp. So and I got it back. I lost it in the Nationals actually the first year. So it had like 50 fish on it, and they got like internal wire so you can bend them and they don't break. So they just got a silicone coating over it. But yeah, they went ballistic.
Hold it up nice and close to the camera, mate, so we can see that lure. It's called the Madness 5. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. So Madness Japan make it. So that one's the 93 mil one, and also there's an 83 or something that we use as well.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the predominant vibe we used. Sometimes we use we alternated to Transams as well. So Jackal, the ones that Harry used to bring in, the Transams, they always catch everywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes if they wanted a bit more subtle on the bottom, we'd chuck a Transam and they get a bit too. And then sometimes a bigger profile. So that's when we pull out like a Samaki 125 or even the big rattling sort of lures. We used to use some of those, and they get some bites as well. So, but yeah, pretty much the trick was to find those schools of fish in structure and watching our sound as we used to sit on our down imaging. So, and you just watch them come through, and if they're coming through in a certain way, you knew exactly when you were going to get a bite. And you just go hard and get them. You go, because you're sitting in trees everywhere and usually on laydowns or whatever structure that they're on, you got to get them to the top quick, and usually in like 20, 30 foot of water sometimes. And as soon as they start jumping, that's when you get control of them because you can move their head.
Yeah.
You can have 1.15 fish on, and as long as you can control their head, you can control them into the boat. Generally, you get them in the boat pretty green, but they used to get in pretty quick. So
no room for weakness in your tackle, is there?
Nah, yeah, you got to be confident in your knots and your lures and on your gear, and yeah, just go hard. And sometimes they're just a freak fish and they just dust you up. But a lot of the time we didn't lose a lot, depending on where we're fishing. So, and then the other ones we were using, these ones are sort of the spoons. Probably, the bass guys probably use them a fair bit. And so we use 2 different sizes. That's the mega spoon, that one. You could eat your breakfast with that one. And that's a little 4.5 inch. That one's about 8 or 9 inch. That's the Ben Parker, that one. So, yeah, we had imported them in from America just to give them a go when they were sort of suspending out in the open a bit more.
Yeah.
You'd run an assist off the front as well as a big treble off the back. And you'd get good, when they were fired up in big schools, you'd get some good reactions out of them. And we had some crazy sessions on them where, like, you'd miss a barra on the 9 inch or 8 inch spoon and they'd come back chafed up, and you just go, wow, how did that thing get down and come out without having to run the assists and that sort of thing? But pretty cool to get bites on that stuff. And, we had some unreal sessions on them, and still use them today. And the reason we actually worked them out, I did a saltwater trip with Ethan Farrell about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was in good time of the tide, and we found schooling fish, and we tried them for 2 or 3 days. We couldn't get a bite out of them, and Ethan had a handful of these things, and I think it was the morning that we were going to go, he chucked one on, and we just started cracking them, and he got a 1.15 salty on it, and it was an eye-opener just to see the difference, chuck something you hadn't chucked on before and get a reaction out of them. So we could probably thank Ethan for giving us that info.
Mate, it's always the ones with the itchy brains that get things happening like that. Explain exactly how do you work those spoons?
So pretty much, I don't know if any of the listeners watched. So if you watched, actually last year, Chris Zaldane was cracking some. I think it might have been Gunnersville or somewhere, one of those lakes. And he was exactly how he was working. So you chuck it out, flutter down through the school, and then it's big lifts with your rod. So you need a fairly stiff rod. We'll actually throw them the big ones on our swim bait rods because we're the only ones we could throw them out and handle the lure. Yeah. And then big lifts and let it flutter down. And generally, it's just as they eat it on the flutter, and just as you rip it again, you're hooked up and you're going. So. But yeah, it's a jig and spoon pretty much. It's a flutter down. They eat it on the bite, but those big reaction fast lifts got the reactions out of the fish. So
and that thing would be mad fluttering on the way down, wouldn't it?
Yeah. A sick flutter, and you could just feel it vibrate on the way down. And it's amazing the reactions you get out of them. It just must be big baits. They just commit a lot more when they get fired up. So.
No, that's awesome, mate. It's a good bit of information because a lot of BARRA guys don't really like getting out of their comfort zone, I suppose. You know, like we've got guys and I fall into the same trap as well. You find a BARRA lure that works and you stick to it, but you find BARRA on your sounder that look a certain way. Yeah. Sometimes there's better ways to get them to react and do it. And guys like you that are out there trying the new and different techniques and sharing that information, mate, it's really appreciated by the rest of us. As I said, hopefully this year we'll get to do the BARRA tour at the end of the year. You and your partner, Craig Griffiths, how many times have you won the Team of the Year? Because I know you won it last year, but the year before the old dudes beat you, the likely lads, but you must have it 4 or 5 times now, that trophy.
Yeah, I think we won it 3 in a row before Jeff and Phil won last year, and then we won again, year before, and then we won again last year. So, yeah, we've done it 4 times together, and then Craig's done it with Shorty as well year or two.
And he's won it with Shorty as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. So that's, I think AO or TOY in the BARRA tour is probably one of the toughest to get because the consistency you need over those 4 events on 4 different lakes is 3 different lakes is what really makes it hard work. So
that's right. A couple of years ago, we changed it so that you couldn't even drop a bad event. It's whoever did the best over the whole tour. Did best. So it's there's no room for not even a bad tournament. It's even a bad night can put you out of it, can't it?
Yeah, exactly right.
Awesome, mate. Well, look, we really appreciate your time on ABT Lockdown Live, mate. You are in a great part of the world to get through this. And look, let's all hope that we can get together and have a beer at the BARRA tour at the end of the year and maybe share some more stories about that incredible bite, the incredible fight, and the incredible experience, which is BARRA fishing.
Yeah, I can't wait. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get over this and get over the hill and get back to some sort of normality. And I'll be keen to get a BARRA down in those lakes down near Mackay again, that's for sure. Yeah,
indeed, mate. And look, hey, if all goes really well, maybe the Australian Open. So I know we're going to see you at that, mate, because you want to show me the money. So thanks, Karim. Thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries. Thanks, G. Cheers.
What do you see?
Reminds me of muskies.
I love your mind.
They call it a bucket mouse because he's got a bucket mouse.
Wow.
I just want to tell you, I've been slaying the walleye lately.
That is so hot.
Ever bump the stump?
Suffix 832, the line that changes the game.
Well, there you go. We've got Karim De Riter on live now on the chat. So if you've got any questions about BARRA, he is the man to see, and he is an absolute gentle giant. I'd never beat him in an arm wrestle. But just quietly, I did finish ahead of him by 1 place in one BARRA tournament once, and it's only going to take a decade for me to stop reminding him and Griffo of that. Let's have a listen to an ad from one of our great ABT sponsors, Tackle Tactics, and we're going to be coming back after that with Tristan Taylor, the 2019 BREAM Angler of the Year, and his box of lures that he uses to catch his fish.
we have got the 2019 BREAM Angler of the Year, Tristan Taylor, with us today. And Tristan, like the rest of us, mate, what are you doing home on a weekday and a weeknight?
Not a lot at the moment, I tell you. Work's really quiet, so I'm pretty much indoors most of the time. Get out for a run in the mornings, and that's about it.
Yeah, and just for people that don't know what you do, what's your 9 to 5 pre-COVID-19?
Dentist. So that was all going pretty well until they're a bit worried about the spread with aerosols and stuff. So the government's cut us right back. So we're not doing much in the way of procedures at the moment.
That's it, mate. So you live in inner city Brisbane as well. So you live in a reasonably dense part of the populated CBD there, and you're taking all your precautions, I suppose, and spend a lot of time inside.
Yeah, pretty much. Just in the unit, and luckily have a park across the road so we can do a bit of exercise. But indoors most of the time. Well,
mate, last year you absolutely smashed the AOY. I think you had won either an event or 2 events before the end of the year. And the big thing for me was, apart from that, Go Queenslander, another Queenslander won the AOY, was the fact that you did it. You did it by committing to doing the whole series all over Australia. But you dead set you could have done it with a lure box the size of a big matchbox. You did it not using a big variety of lures, just being really good with the lures you had. You could do that, couldn't you? You could have packed the lures in your pocket to win AOY.
Honestly, I could have had half a dozen lures, and that would have done me the whole year. And I think that is probably the biggest thing over the years I've learned is don't try and fish someone else's technique. Know what you're good at, and you can take those techniques anywhere, any arena in Australia, and you'll be able to catch fish on it.
Well, that's good, because that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about your handful of techniques and baits in particular that you use to do it. And let's go through the list. And I'm going to hark back because we've got some highlights playing in the background here of you doing it. And I want to start with what I thought was your most interesting capture of the year, which was caught on an unweighted Eco Gear Aqua. Tell me the arena where that was.
That's in Gladstone, and that was a pretty special one. Probably one of the bigger brims of the whole tournament year. Actually, it was a pretty special fish to catch.
And so let's use that. If you were going to put together a Triste kit, when and where would you use that unweighted Aqua?
I don't use it a lot, but I think anytime you're fishing like a pontoon or man-made structure, and I basically copied what you'd been doing and had tried that a few times on the Gold Coast, and it just works really well when you need that subtle presentation when fish are used to eating bread or something that people are throwing in the water. And that was exactly the case in Gladstone. There was this one dock, and it was probably the one dock you were allowed to fish. It was not out of bounds, and we made sure of that. And there was a couple of guys running the ferries there, and they said, there's heaps of bream under here. And I thought straight away, there's going to be, fish eating bread. They're going to be used to this kind of a presentation.
Well, we call it the chip hatch on the Gold Coast. It's the hot chip hatch.
So it works a treat.
It is. So that's the first one. The second one we got, let's run through some of the other baits that you use. And I know that one that we saw a lot of, and it worked in every state for you basically, was the motor oil Z-Man grub. Like, it is a ubiquitous lure. Like, everybody uses it from time to time. But what is it about that lure that just puts fish in the boat everywhere? What do you think it is? Is it the way you rig it, or is it just tell us the story about it?
Well, the motor oil colour I had never used before this year. The only reason I went to use it was a lot of friends had told me down in BEM River, you've just got to use motor oil colour. And I said, okay, well, I'll do that. That's what everyone reckons. I was pretty familiar with the Z-Man grub and how to fish that, and I was pretty confident with that lure. And, as soon as you start catching fish on the motor oil, you think, well, this obviously works. There's no reason to change it. I don't know if I had to put my hand on what it is that makes that colour and that lure so good. I think in all watercolours, it probably stands out really well. If you see it underwater, it actually has a totally different colour to when you're just holding it out of the packet. It does seem to catch the light or something. Obviously, there's a UV component to it.
Doesn't it? Really glows.
It really glows, yeah. And when you're fishing, like BEM River, we're out in the basin in like 20 foot of water, and the water's quite dirty. I think anything that stands out a little bit more is probably right up your for your benefit there. So that's why I think it works. Yeah.
How do you rig it?
I don't have any on me at the moment, but I've got the Atomic Seekers in a 1/11th ounce is what I usually would use. I rig it with the curl tail facing down, so away from the hook point. And the idea there is the tail doesn't kind of curl around and get hooked onto the actual hook point all the time when you have to keep taking it off. So that might be kind of counterintuitive to what most people grew up doing, but that seems to work really well for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember once the very first tournament I won on a Z-Man grub, I put a photo of it up on social media, and everyone told me that I rigged it up wrong. And I go, you know what? I never actually think about which way the tail went. But then someone came on and said, mate, he won the tournament. It wasn't that wrong. It was all right. But apparently there is a way to do it. And if you like that curl going away from the hook, then there's some good logic in that, mate. That's the best reason I've heard so far. Let's move on to the hard bodies, because you've really cut your teeth in Moreton Bay throwing hard bodies at rugged structure. Show me the favourite, mate. Where is it?
This lure, the Atomic Crank 38, this is the deep diving version. I've been using that since probably the 2008 BREAM Grand Final, which was on the Gold Coast as well, and it's won me more money than any other lure in the box. And you can use it everywhere. You know, that's an all-round black bream, yellowfin, pikey bream lure. It just works.
Now, if it's your first time using one of these lures, tell us through how you would fish that bait. And firstly, I'll preempt it by saying throw it where you think you're not going to get it back. And Mick Starkey likes that because people don't often you don't often come back with all of them you started with, but that's a part of the equation, isn't it?
That's exactly it, yeah. So I like to use them anywhere, shallow water, rubbly reef, maybe a bit of broken weed on the bottom. It's a pretty simple lure, to be honest. You cast it as far as you can. That's probably the first tip. Get it away from the boat. I think getting even an extra metre out of your cast will really make a difference, because it's all about probability. The more time you can spend in that strike zone away from the boat, that's when you'll catch the fish usually. And I just do like a medium retrieve, just slow roll. Nothing, no jerks, no pauses or anything like that. This is for yellowfin bream. And if I get a hit, I'll just keep rolling that lure and just feeling the bottom. It usually is hitting into the bottom. I like to be in probably under 4 foot of water, the boat that is. And they usually will hit it a few times and then clunk. They'll just load up. So I tend not to stop it. If I feel a hit, I don't pause it or anything. I just keep rolling it and they'll keep chasing it.
Now, that's for the yellowfins. Do you have a different technique for the blacks?
The first time I used it on the blacks was down in Tassie a few years ago. I think I came second to you at St Helens, actually, and I was out on the reef just from the start line. I had the mid-depth version, so that little guy with the shallower bib, and I did put a little bit of sticky weight under its belly just to try and suspend it a little bit more. And what I did there, cast it out again as far as you can, and I'm just rolling it, but I just stop it, and for 2 or 3 seconds at a time, and then I just keep rolling, stop it, roll it, stop it. And they tend to always hit it on the pause, but the trick down there, which I found, and I've only been there twice before in the past, but I think I've done reasonably well when I go to Tassie, they will hit it, and if they don't hook up immediately, you just don't move the lure. If you get a little pluck or a little tick, you just leave it sit there, and then within about 2 or 3 seconds, bam, it just hooks up. Whereas if you keep rolling it, they kind of, black bream, I don't know, they maybe look at it and go, whoa, hold up, that's moving, I don't like it anymore.
That's right. And as a Queenslander, I suppose through the year you fished, half of them were black bream events last year, half were yellowfin events. You nearly mentally have to remember what you're fishing for, because as a Queenslander, I find it's hard to, blacks, you've got to stop it. Yellowfins, don't stop it, and vice versa for the guys down south. So I think it's I think by fishing all over Australia, you tend to learn little tricks like that, don't you?
You definitely do, yeah. And, reading the results from events in the past and little tips like that come up all the time. And if you can kind of, keep a few of those in the back of your brain, then, use them when you're down in these other arenas.
Yeah, awesome. Now, when we were talking before the show, you were showing me that there was one of the Atomic, a more slender jerkbait style lure that you use as well. It's called the Shiner, I think. Show it to us.
That's the Atomic Shiner there. So that's actually in Tim's prawn colour, named after your brother, actually. And I love that colour, actually. It's a really, really good one. It's a suspending jerkbait. It probably slow floats, I would say, in the salt water, to be honest. But yeah, it's a really good lure around any pontoons or structure that you want to kind of jerk it around and get it in underneath those pontoons. And also, just if you want something that's going to suspend a little bit better than what the cranks will do, I'll cast that. And that's when I might just impart a little bit of a jerky action coming out from a snag or out from a rock bar or something like that.
Awesome, mate. Now that nearly encapsulates the lures that you won AOY on last year. Just run us through a little bit about tackle, and in particular, I want to know, when do you make the choice to fish straight through fluorocarbon, and when do you do the braid and leader thing? Because I know that you will often try both of them.
No, you know what? I've never fished straight through fluorocarbon in my life.
Really?
I tried it, I reckon,
Stevie
once.
Eldred, mate. Stevie Eldred likes his 3 pounds straight through.
Yeah,
That's right.
no, I've never fished straight through. Maybe once ever down at St George's Basin. I think I fished it one time. I just never really liked it, and braid and a leader option for me has always worked everywhere I go, and I've never really seen the need to change that.
There
So
you go.
sometimes I'll use a longer leader sometimes, depending if the fish are really shy and I'm using 3 or 2 pound leader. I'll lengthen that out to like 4 to 6 meters of leader. But generally, it's 6 foot of probably 6 to 8 pound leader, and that's me everywhere I go.
Yep. So no finesse involved in many of your fishing spots, mate.
I didn't go anywhere below 6 pound leader this year gone by. So
wow.
Yeah,
there you go. And that's a really interesting point. You know, a lot of people, myself included, do drop down to lighter line classes to buy the bite it sometimes. But you just 4-wheel drive in there a bit further and see if you can get into them and bulldoze them out. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, if you've got confidence in the lures you're using and where you're fishing, I think, usually that's the main thing, having the confidence.
Well, that's awesome, mate. And last year, of course, was the dream year for you. You nailed the AOY, but then you finished up by winning the grand final as well. So you ticked off a lot of things in one year, mate. And then we're nearly halfway through the season this year. We don't know if we're going to see a second half of the season, but we haven't seen you this year, mate. Tell us what you've been doing in the first half of this year.
Oh, you know what? It's been a bit heartbreaking. I wanted so badly to go down to Tasmania and fish. That's such a great place to get into the bream. I decided to do an Ironman triathlon this year, which was meant to be in May this year, and training had been going really well. Almost at the event, you know, you're doing all the long kilometres of running and riding and swimming, and COVID comes along and cancellation. So that's not going to be happening at the moment. So it's a bit of a shame. If I had have known, I would have been fishing for sure.
That's right. If you had known, it would have been heaps more pies and Tasmania trips.
That's it, exactly.
Pies in Tassie, that's what you want. Mate, thank you very much for joining us today, and thanks for running us through that little box of lures, because it gives a lot of guys out there the confidence to say, for $100, you can buy a kit that you can win Angler of the Year with.
Most definitely. That's it.
Awesome, mate. Well, stay safe, and thank you very much for joining us tonight on ABT Lockdown Live.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks a lot.
Well, there you go. Atomic Lures catching the absolute giants there in that last ad. Look, this is a little bit of a reminder before we have our last segment that we've got a few competitions going on tonight. Firstly, let us know where you're from in the comments. We've got a set of AFC, well, not a full set, but a whole pile of AFC DVDs for you. Just let us know where in the world you're watching for. That's gold. Secondly, reminder, Tristan Taylor is online now chatting. So if you've got any questions to ask the 2019 BREAM Angler of the Year, pow, he is sitting there doing it. Thirdly, we're giving away Adam Royter's historical from the archives Team Hog's Breath Cafe cap. You need to tell us how bad you want it, or you just need to say, give us his bloody cap. Nicole will be picking that winner very soon. And fourthly, you need to tell us what you want to buy from www.fishin.com.au from Adam Costa. You'll win a Costa pack with this Costa stuff in it. There you go. You've got the Costa cap here. There it is. The Costa cap, stickers, all sorts of Costa gear we can send out to you as well. So all of those prizes going to get drawn in the next little bit. Now, the last segment we've got on here, a man who came down and had his first few events fishing as a non-boater. Normally fishes in the kayaks, but we've managed to twist that arm of his and get him to try the non-boater segment in the ABT events, which he absolutely loves. Let's go and have a word to Byron Hill.
Well, who would have thought it was only a few weeks ago, really, that we were all in Tasmania enjoying the every second year Tasmanian road trip. And I've got Byron Hill with me at the moment. Byron, you experienced Tassie as an ABT non-boater for the first time. I think I've done it about 10 or 11 times now. It doesn't matter if it's your first or your 10th time. That place is dead set awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. I was on the water there doing the comps for 6 days, including the pre-fish days, and there was only one day that I didn't catch a kilo fish. So the place is a giant Jurassic Park that, and I'm sure guys got kilo fish on every single day, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. It was heaps of fun down there at Tassie, yeah.
It's awesome, mate. And look, you're becoming well known in the fishing side of things for making some very interesting content. Sometimes it's kayak based, and we can't really, we're not holding that against you. But you've got a video coming out, and we've got some highlights running in the background now. You've got a bit of a highlights video coming out, just celebrating that last gasp of freedom that we had down in Tassie, didn't it?
Yeah, it's great. I'd probably bit of a shout out to the boaters that I had down there as the non-boater. They put me in some great positions, and some of them were Tassie local. One of them in particular was a Tassie local who knew I was a bit of a fish out of the water down there, and he was great, and they were all great, to be honest. Fishing with Scotty Towner, there was a lot that I learnt during that day there. But, yeah, there was fish after fish and boat after boat of just fun. 2 guys, to take words out of Grayson Fong's repertoire, it's 2 dudes on a boat trying to fish for 10 fish, and Tassie was just amazing to make that happen. It's good. It was very good.
That's awesome, mate. And look, we can see in the background here with those highlights playing that it was a good time had by all. If anyone's sitting on the fence, and this is sitting on the fence as in you're a kayak angler thinking, shall I go and have a go as a non-boater, or I'm just a non-tournament angler and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not good enough, I can't, there's insert reason here why I can't go. Give us some unscripted reasons why you should just jump in and give it a crack.
Well, I was a little bit anxious on going to the non-boater. Actually, maybe even to the kayak series when I first started that about 5 odd years ago as well. And I'd say it's a great opportunity to learn from some of the best. For me, it's all about that learning curve. I remember it when I first started kayaks. I think I'd been in a kayak twice, and then by the end of the first season, I was having a lot of fun and catching some consistent fish. I'd say that's probably happening for me at the same time here with the boating scene. There's a drastic learning curve going on, whether it's boats or engine bits, and how to hit areas as a non-boater quickly and efficiently whilst the boaters up the front still catching fish. You need to get some for yourself and be respectful at the same time. Yeah. But I think if you come out with an open mind, there's some great opportunities to be had, some great learning experience, and ultimately, good fish. But I really like that learning aspect to it. So I'd say that's the number one thing. If you're passionate about fishing, you want to learn how to catch more fish, this is a great avenue to do that. Yeah.
Well, let's just roll back a little bit more. Before that Tasmanian tour, you came along to one of the Gippsland rounds. You bought yourself on the Malakuta bushfire appeal on a boat with Hodgie.
Yeah,
and he is the master of that North Arm area down in Gippsland. And just to show that anyone can do it, you pulled a 1.55 kilo BREAM from behind Hodgie. Tell us that story, because we got that picture up on the screen now, and that is an epic event, mate. And was that one of your first fish you'd landed in ABT?
That was the first fish I landed in ABT. Yeah, it was a great way to start. It was funny. Hodgie wanted to throw a cranker crab at a jetty, and I know you had a lot of success doing that. So he pulled up to a jetty. I looked the opposite direction and saw this bank that I was really impressed with. Lots of gnarly structure and rock, and there were some trees coming off it as well. But the tide was up, and threw a hard body into a snag. Half a wind, and I saw a bow wave come out and just clunk. It's one of those takes that you have everything to do with, and they will stick with me. It's one of the fish that will always stick with me. I'll be honest, that very long 30 seconds that I had nothing on it for the first 30 seconds. It was just
going everywhere.
It was peeling line off, and I was on 4 pounds straight through, and it was. There was a lot of luck involved in getting that. The hooks pulled as we got into the net, but I had a grin from ear to ear for the remainder of that day, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, yeah.
Well, that's awesome, mate. And they're the memories you take away from ABT being a non-boater. Not all days are diamonds. Some days are rocks, but the ones that are great are just stick in your memory forever. Look, before we end this up tonight, you're going to make your Tasmanian video. You're going to make it live straight after this show. Give us a shout out to where we can find it. We'll put a link in the chat and in the video description here anyway. But give us a link to where we can find that.
Yeah, so it'll be under the YouTube channel, just under my name, Byron T. Hill, no spaces. But yeah, you're right. It'll go live after this. I'll also have a link on my Facebook profile, and that'll be public, so you don't have to be a friend with me to access that. But either way, both those clicks onto there. Look, I hope that it's 12 minutes of fun, a lot of entertainment. One of the biggest fish comes in the very last scene, and I truly do. I hope you guys do find it a bit of entertaining. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got something lined up to do after the show tonight. Thanks very much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks, Steve.
Well, there you go. That was the last of the 5 formal segments of ABT Lockdown Live for this week. We know we've got a few little audio problems. This mic's a little bit not loud enough. I was too scared to play with it during the show because, hey, some volume's better than no volume. I reckon we're going to have that finished for next week. Thank you very much to all of the people that did segments this week that were on the chat there. I think most of them are still on there answering questions and giving you unprecedented access to some of these guys' information. We also have winners for the comps. Let me read through the winners for the comps. We have, and these got, please send us a message to our Facebook page with your postal addresses. We will track you down. We tracked down last week's winners, all right. But Kylie Sutton from Roma won yourself some AFC DVDs. Kylie, if you can get into touch with us, that's great. Thank you for shouting out about where you were in Australia watching ABT Lockdown Live. Jason Reed has won this Reuter hat. There you go. And his comment was, give me the hat. Give me the hat. Give me the hat. Okay, we're going to give you the hat. That's going to come in the post to you, Jason. Reach out to us with your postal address and I will post that to you. And the Costa pack to be won from Adam Costa at www.fishing.com.au. Well, it's not from him, it's from us. We're going to send it to you. Is Colin Robinson. And Colin, you wanted to buy some Costa Sunnies, Suffix Line, Miller rods and Eco Gear lures. Bloody hell, mate. You are a sponsor's bloody dream. All of those guys, sponsors of ABT. Don't know if that was on purpose, but it sure rang Nicole Smith's bell and got her on that prize wagon there. So you 3 guys reach out to us. We're going to send it to you. Any questions that you've got, mate, send them to us on our ABT Facebook page. Any comments about what we need in the show, send them to us. And any feedback, of course, we really, really appreciate it because we want to make ABT Lockdown Live the show that you want to watch every Friday night because, let's face it, I don't think there's any other reasonable excuses to be out after dark nowadays. Australia, you're doing amazingly. You are dropping the curve on this virus, and the quicker we get rid of it, the quicker we find a vaccine, the quicker we are going to be out there fishing again because I tell you what, after all of this, none of us are going to take fishing whenever you like for granted anymore. So big shout out to Nicole Smith, our production girl down. She is down at Victoria Point there doing an amazing job behind the scenes. Wherever you are in Australia, stay safe. We want you here watching ABT Lockdown Live next week. We got to nearly 200 viewers at any one time this week, and that's probably around 1,000 viewers for the whole show. Make sure you share this with your mates. Make sure you subscribe to ABT and make sure you hit that little bell so you get reminded anytime we have stuff going live on the ABT channel. For instance, right after this show, we're going to go live with those 2 AFC episodes. One down on the Gold Coast, the famous I wasn't wearing my PFD and I got disqualified episode, which was really the my name's Adam Royter and I smashed into a pontoon boat episode. Also the Barumba Bass episode where Adam Royter ripped that treble out of Harry Watson's leg. We got plenty more AFC episodes coming up in the future on that AFC channel. On that ABT Tournaments channel. You're watching it on here now, ABT Tournaments on YouTube. A big thank you to all of the people that have tuned in, have commented. There have been thousands of things on there. We really appreciate it. Big shout out to the commenters. We've got Dale Baxter here. Jason Reed goes, great contest. Of course it was a great contest. You won it. Brett Penpraiser got there. Shannon Hush says bass next week. I saw you fish a bream tournament, mate. You don't mind bream as well. We know that. Rich 350, Nick Brunye, Tristan Taylor still on there making comments. Big shout out to all of you guys and to the big ABT community that makes it what it is. I think I'm going to call it quits here for tonight on ABT Lockdown Live. We're going to leave you with one of my favourite suffix ads of all time, and we're going to catch up with you next week, 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. Let's see if we can find old mate's lost fish. Over and out from Morgay.
Hi, I lost a big fish earlier today. Wasn't using suffix. It was about this big.
Look, slow down there, cowboy, okay? A fish in the lost it van, huh? You want your fish. Sorry, honey, that fish is gone.
Always use the best line, suffix 832.
This is where we run the bloopers, isn't it? After the show. You want to see the bloopers? You want to see all the bloopers? There's no bloopers. That's it. See ya.
We know they're out there. And we know we need to find them. We target them for different reasons. But when the line tightens, we all feel the same. We feel alive. The water moves around us and the world feels far away. We are here. We are fishing. It is a search, not just for fish, but for all things most important. For family and friends. For tradition and tranquility. For conservation and competition, all of us find what we are looking for. Yet we continue searching. We cast, and as the lure soars, our hopes soar with it. This will be the one. They tell us insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. But we are not insane. The fish are still out there, and we are fishermen. We have been since we were young, and will be until we can do no more. And then, when the ice begins to freeze within us,